We don't normally do passenger rides at Top Gear, but when you've got a T50 and an empty runway at Dunsfold, we're prepared to make an exception. What do you reckon, Ollie? Ready for 12,000 RPM?
I cannot wait.
When you're ready, Dario.
Right, here we go.
The great thing is you get to hit 12,000 RPM several times, don't you? That was violent, bordering on abuse. I think 175?
I can't see from here.
I actually remembered to look at the speedometer, which is a first for me.
The noise is bananas.
It's bananas.
It's so angry at the top end.
I don't think I managed to shift without hitting the rev limiter.
Are you saying that you weren't happy with your run? Are we going to have to do it again?
I think we can go faster. I think we can get into the overdrive 6 too, because that was the limiter in 5th.
And also, just for the benefit of watchers at home, I have forgotten to speak, haven't I? Yeah, we'll go again. Just for the benefit of viewers at home, just before we set off there, Dario said, let me know when the runway runs out. I haven't done this before. Yeah, I think you had another couple of seconds of throttle in there.
We could have got well into 6th gear.
All right, Dario, so you've had your warm-up. Round 2, let's go. I'm going to film this one.
All right, I'll try and avoid hitting the limiter this time.
I'm just going to hold on.
So am I. Sorry, but I hate to tell you.
Words lucky and sods don't really do today justice, because we're going to be the first people outside of the company to experience what the Gordon Murray Automotive T50, the spiritual successor to the McLaren F1, is like in full flight. Because it's a 3-seater, Mr. Ollie Marriage is my co-passenger, and doing the driving today is Dario Franchitti, the T50's development driver who, among other things, has won the Indy 500 3 times. Okay, so we've blitzed up and down the Top Gear test track runway. Time to take things down a notch or two and see what the T50's like on the public road.
That wasn't bad, was it?
That's all good. Oh, that is quite immediate, isn't it?
That is.
If in doubt, make noise.
Yeah.
You don't really need an electric motor when you've got torque and barely any weight. Although, as you mentioned earlier, Dario, just the three of us being in this car, we're probably adding 25-30% of the car's weight again. And I had a big breakfast. It's a really interesting seating position, isn't it? It's completely unlike anything I've ever been in before.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that there's a central driving position. It's your view of that central driving position that I hadn't really expected.
We get to judge Dario on all his controlling drive, because we can see it, we see the pedals, we see everything.
You do have a much better view of the manual gear shift.
I do.
Which is a bit of theatre that I could probably watch all day.
Yes. I mean, it is a massive area, but I've got enough shoulder room in your head because of all the light. It feels like you've got loads of space.
We're 3 up in a car that's the same footprint as a Boxster.
Yeah.
And that makes, then it sort of starts to make sense.
Yeah.
And when the guys were designing at early stage, they kept talking to Gordon about, making it just a little bit wider for the passenger comfort, and he was just, nope, it will work, I'm telling you, it will work at this size of footprint. And he's absolutely right.
It's an unexpected benefit though. It's actually really easy for you and I to chat behind Dario's back.
Yeah, I mean, it depends who you're sitting next to, benefit, Fortunately, I like you, Ollie, so this is excellent.
Okay, so we're in 4th gear right now.
Yeah.
Up a steep hill, and we'll just...
It's just the way it ramps into that power band. Just, and you can hear it about 7,000. It really hardens in tone.
Yeah. One of the things he talked about from the very start, it was dead clear to me whenever we had a discussion. He's like, the induction noise. We talked about engine noises, and the induction noise is so important because that's what the person in the car hears. That's where the enjoyment, engine noise enjoyment comes for the driver. He said, and with induction noise, if you do it right, it's all controlled by your right foot. So I've got about 10%, 5% throttle on right now.
It's interesting, the sound is sort of in stereo, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
this where the,
Induction
where the resonance is coming from?
right
here?
here,
So it's
yeah.
sort of surround sound, spatial audio.
Yeah.
But then I've just popped it in the 6. This car's got the long 6.
So this is the optional overdrive 6.
Optional overdrive 6. And we're sitting at 63 miles an hour, 2,250 RPM.
I think Gordon was saying 85% of owners have gone for the overdrive 6.
Yeah.
Which totally tallies with being able to use the car properly on long trips.
Yeah, but it's definitely a sports car, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get some texture and feel from the road through it, but it's not uncomfortable. And even when we've hit potholes, it's not harsh.
Yeah.
You know,
Almost
it's
find
rounding off the edges of it.
I see one coming and I brace myself, and then the impact isn't nearly as. You hit that
There
on
you go.
purpose.
Yes.
Right on cue.
Thank you.
Perfect.
It rides the bumps ever so well. So it's more relaxing maybe than a traditional supercar, and that's part of what Gordon was wanting all along. We've talked about that. Take away the excuses for people. So they say, oh, I don't want to take it here because of I can't do this. I don't want to take it there because the road's like this. You can pretty much take it anywhere.
No excuses. And as we learned earlier, Ollie, the best thing about that no excuses philosophy is that Gordon wants to reward the owners that put the most amount of miles on their car.
Love
That's
that.
what it's designed for.
Yeah.
Then we all decided it was time for a cuppa and the chance for Ollie, Dario and I to have a proper poke around.
Can we have a look underneath? I'm fascinated by what goes on under the
I
sides.
can make that happen.
Go on,
And I want to see how the doors work.
Open up
I'm
the
going to
other
open
side,
the
Ollie.
other side, yeah.
Do you know how it works?
Yeah, I do now.
Oh, show off.
Look at that. Oh,
So
that's
now, look,
great.
we get a look at many things now, don't we? The first is the luggage pod, which is,
Yes.
I think this is unnecessary weight, isn't it?
The car cover might be the heaviest thing about the whole car. Yeah, we've got a lovely car cover, luggage pod, and then in there is that lovely V12.
I mean, it's just the look of it. There's so much to look at. This is brilliant. So rather than having the spec of the car, I opened it up and thought that would be the spec of the car, but not. It's a list of Gordon's achievements, basically.
Yeah, but if you were him, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's sick of it, isn't it?
And it probably could be quite a bit longer, but I think he was worried about weight.
There is one thing I've noticed in here, a little bit of warmth coming through here, so you probably don't want to put your Mother's Day chocolates in there.
Easter eggs.
Yeah. Or put your takeaway pizza, nice and warm when you get
But
home.
it's the beauty of the whole thing, though. You look at it, and there's got from the induction down to all this stuff going on here. There's a beautiful beauty of the packaging and stuff to it. Is
The packaging
terrific.
has been a real challenge.
Yeah.
Getting everything in such a small footprint, but then with the fan and all the plumbing for the fan, that's really been a challenge for the team.
Yeah, I bet.
Let's talk dampers. Let's get really geeky.
Inboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about these.
So R53, British company, rallyists normally, they have done the most incredible job. I mean, how often do you drive a car nowadays got a horrible secondary ride? And Gordon, much like most of us, he's particularly obsessed with a good secondary ride, and this is unbelievable. You know, over the lumps and bumps of our crappy roads, it does it so well. But then when you need body control, when you're going a bit quick, it does it ever so well. So that they were a company that was new to me when I started this project, and they've just been phenomenal.
I'm taking this as a surefire sign that there's a rally version of the T50 coming. And you only need to spec these dampers up a bit more ride height, and you're there.
Well, as we've proven, the speed bumps and stuff are not an issue, are they? You
No.
can just
No.
you can
And
get over
no
them.
nose lift, is there? There's no nose lift on it.
Do you know what that weighs?
Exactly.
It's just not necessary.
Compare it to a silly car like Carrera GT, that might be bottoming out on village roads like this.
Who would do such a thing?
do such
No,
a thing?
it does actually, and that's the whole, one of the big things is that Gordon says, take away the excuses to use the car. You know, don't worry about speed bumps. I mean, going into Shalford, where the offices are, I can't take a couple of my cars in there; they just won't go. This thing, you just,
Yeah,
you know,
just
as we
straight
proved, just
over the top.
batter over them.
And how much is that? Because you've got the fan on the back, which helps create sort of usable downforce at kind of lower speeds. You don't necessarily need the car sucking, you know, down on the road, so you can have a bit more ride height because you've got some help.
Well, absolutely, that's part of it. But there's of course a compromise. You know, if you put it lower, you're going to get the floor working a bit better as well.
Yeah.
But then there's a compromise. You can't use the thing anywhere, and when you live with the car daily, it all makes sense. The setup that's been put on it, the ride height that's been put on it, the amount of downforce it produces, it all works together, which is, as you guys know, it's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, and Gordon's crystal clear. He doesn't want this to be a track car. Right, it's not a track car. There's a T50S coming. There's literally a whole other car specifically for that. So why do something that might make it faster around the corner on a track if it's going to make your life more uncomfortable?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is not designed for a track. There's going to be cars that are miles quicker than this round a track, but when you're on a back road in Scotland and you need a good bit of independence in the suspension and you've got the crown on the road and the bumps, that's where this car is designed for. It's that fun and that interaction and that enjoyment of driving it at 60 miles an hour or slightly more than 60 miles an hour maybe.
60 mile an hour plus.
Yeah.
Let's leave it there.
Yeah. I love coming at the back of the fact that you've got the rear camera is smack in the middle of the fan.
I didn't even notice that.
Have you not noticed that?
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's a great little
Look at
feature,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, it's the serrations on the fan. I just thought it would just be they would be finished like a sort of fan blade on a plane or something, but it's got some teeth on it.
What's that about?
Well, initially it was finished just like a jet engine, and then it was a bit noisy. So we looked into ways of making it quiet, and Frank Koppak, technical director, started looking into sort of the aviation world and helicopters, that kind of stuff, how to lose noise, and that was one of the most efficient ways to do it.
Wow. It's great because you look in the back and it looks like you've got some serrated shark's teeth in the back.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get your finger caught in there. But then, just for the BBC Health and Safety Department,
Yes.
this fan won't be spinning when you're parked up in traffic.
No, you're going 40, 50 miles an hour before it even
Before it
thinks
kicks in.
about switching on.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big safety thing there.
Big tick there. Come, let's have a walk round the front. Cameras for wing mirrors.
Yes.
Talk us
shut
through
the
it.
door down. No,
Yeah,
shut
go
the
on,
door
shut
down.
that down.
It's just push and then it clicks, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then it's
Yeah,
clicks
there you
itself,
go.
soft closes.
Yeah.
So the cameras on the as for mirrors on the doors. Reason for that is because of the centre driving position now and specs and homologation and everything. To have normal mirrors, they would have had to been somewhere like here.
Yeah.
And it would look like a Tokyo taxi or something. And Gordon took one look at that and said, nah, we're not doing that.
Tokyo taxis are very cool in their own right, but maybe not the look
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
going for here. That's really interesting. My initial assumption would be aerodynamics, but no, it's visibility and usability.
And it has benefits. Obviously, aerodynamics are so small, but no, not. It wasn't a good look apparently.
Yeah, so a styling decision from Gordon Murray.
Yeah.
That's interesting because you would assume with Gordon that everything comes from an engineering standpoint. It's about lightness, efficiency, fitness for purpose.
Look at T.33. Gordon looked at all these cars, particularly from the 60s, that, well, he owns most of them, but ones that really influenced him and he loves and he's passionate about. And he said, I want a car that looks like that. I want a car with this V12 engine that looks like that. Downforce, yeah, it's got some decent downforce, but that wasn't what it was about for him. And him and Kevin Richards, the artistic director, Gordon Murray, got together and drew that beautiful shape. So it's not all about just pure just performance for Gordon.
I love for the T33 that he's taking it down a notch because it's a more kind of relaxed type of car to 11,000 RPM. A bit more torque and just 11.
Yeah, low down torque because as you boys saw, it's immediately the torque of this thing. It's not short of torque, is it?
It's essentially an automatic gearbox. You could just leave it in fifth and just hair around in that.
Yeah.
I did say to him he could take out first and second and save a bunch of weight, but
But actually, did you know that'd be a good statement from Gordon because he doesn't give a fig about 0 to 60, does he?
Yeah, he really doesn't.
So there we go. You just start in third gear and it's all about tractability and lightweight. But Seeing as we're standing next to it, you mentioned earlier the fact that Gordon's trying to remove excuses for not using this car all the time. These tyres, these are just off the shelf.
Yeah,
Pilot's bought 4Ss.
Yeah,
right?
they are. They're off the shelf, and therefore they're a lot cheaper than a bespoke tyre. And that was part of his thing. He's like, yeah, I want it to be sort of cost effective to run. And it's not a cup tyre; it's a 4S as well.
Yeah.
So used, more every day. Gets a bit cold, gets close to freezing. You're not going to be skating around looking for grip.
Yeah. And I love the fact I'm surprised almost that it's got a regular windscreen wiper. I wondered if Gordon would have come up with some radical strategy to get rid of it.
Screen.
Yeah.
Hydrophobic. Yeah.
All right. So cards on the table with the window wiper. We did the worldwide reveal launch, or dynamic debut it was called. So dynamic debut at Goodwood. TC didn't work at that point. ABS didn't work, and Gordon's like, I knew he wanted to see this thing at 12.1. All the customers were there, and it was raining. The good news is it spins the tyres at 12.1 with no TC in a straight line. The traction control has since done a good job with that. But the window wiper had been incorrectly made, and at about 120 miles an hour it started to come off the windscreen.
At which point you can't see anything.
And it was pretty clear it was coming off the windscreen on TV as well. So I managed to get it pointing upwards, and then was able to. But this is
it's now got downforce.
Well, it should have had. It was designed to have downforce, and it is so powerful, that windscreen wiper. I cannot tell you. It's an odd thing to say, but that is one big, powerful windscreen wiper. Produces good downforce.
So it was basically put on the wrong way around and it was getting lift.
He was getting lift.
Yeah.
It was, as I say, the people who made it had designed the backside incorrectly, and it became an airplane wing rather than a racing car wing.
And you haven't got storage under the front, have you?
No,
because you've got the pods at the back. But
well, you've got your toolkit in there. You got your emergency stuff. You've got your top up for your washer fluid in the front area. It's tightly packaged in the front, but you've got more than enough in the back.
Overall, it's such a small car. As we're standing beside it, it's not just low. It doesn't feel big. The width of it, the length of it. It's not a big car.
No, and you saw that coming down here. We're on these little roads, and you're still able to move in your own lane.
Yeah.
And you've got probably a foot either side.
Yeah.
At which you forget how tightly it is packaged, and that was one of Gordon's obsessions, is to keep this thing small. It's Porsche Boxster footprint, but there's 3 of us in it.
Yeah, it's certainly not Porsche Boxster performance. And speaking of which, how's your tea doing?
Oh, I'm nearly out.
Nearly out. I'm out. Come on, what are we doing standing around? Let's get back in here and do some more driving.
Let's go.
Come on.
Back on the road, and we were all keen to see what the T50 was like in a narrow, traditional British village.
Oh, a little bit of a challenge here. Coming into a village.
Coming into a village, right. The road is narrowing. There's
curbs.
There's curbs, there's traffic in the other direction. This will test your metal.
Yeah, but again, this is one of those things where the centre driving position makes perfect sense. You talk about single-seater. I mean, I'm used to this. I grew up driving in a car that was in a completely symmetrical driving position, which this has got. And you can position it so well. And that low scuttle, Gordon's always talking about the low scuttle height. And I was like, yeah, what does that actually mean? And then you get in this and you realise exactly.
Yeah, so you can see
Exactly
the
what it
road
is.
just a few feet in front of the car.
Yeah,
Here we
yeah.
go, for classic English village scene
Rumble
there. We've
past
got
the
a nice
Defender.
scruffy old Defender, a couple of blokes up a ladder fixing a sign.
It's such an exciting place to be sat.
Yeah.
Actually, you just get so much more sense of stuff going on.
We talk about sort of the driver-centric car, but then actually for the passengers, it's really nice. But it's so docile in this situation. But then, as you discovered earlier, when you open the taps, it's quite interesting.
Yeah. So Ollie, having driven the Valkyrie, how would that be around Petworth?
Oh. You just couldn't. I really don't think you could. It wouldn't have a problem with ground clearance.
Yeah.
But in terms of the noise and everything, it would just be undrivable.
Angry
and
locals.
you'd feel a bit of a burk.
You drive through a village like this in a bright orange Lamborghini, and there's this sort of instant recognition of what it is. Oh, that's one of those Lambos. There's an intrigue when people see this car. They know it's very, very special. But it's wonderful watching their eyes try and sort of wrap their brains around.
Yeah.
What am I looking at here? Is that you know, obviously the Top Gear subscribers will know instantly it's a T50.
Do you feel exposed to your passengers operating the car in this? Do you feel like you're a bit on show?
Just because it's you two, yes. Otherwise, I'd be fine with it. Yeah.
And obviously your background's all in single-seater racing, but as a road car, was it hard to adapt to sitting in the middle?
No, it just made complete sense straight away.
Yeah.
It really did. That sort of symmetrical driving position, because any car you drive, you're always compromised sitting off to one side. It feels different left to right. The A-pillar gets in the way, especially now with the thick A-pillars, modern cars. And it's just, it just makes complete sense to me. And the angle, even the angle of the seat with for my head to rest on for the acceleration. It's absolutely spot on.
So do you feel the benefits of the fan helping to create extra downforce? Because I remember when Gordon originally told us about the idea for this car, it must have been 3-4 years ago now, he was like, imagine a car that at legal road speeds is actually producing enough downforce that you can feel it, that it can stick to the road. Are you sensing that, or are you just sensing a car that feels planted?
I've driven a lot of these cars with no fan at all.
Yeah.
So early prototypes didn't have fans and stuff as we were developing that part of it separately. And when you go into a medium speed to low speed corner, trust me, you really feel the benefit of the fan on the overall downforce, but the rear end balance too, it just gives it a bit more rear end.
Keep right onto Trundleton.
Good, but I guess as a road car, it's much about stability of the car than it is about downforce. Just using the fan to manage the air a bit.
Yeah, it's giving it a wider window of performance, so it's not pitch sensitive. It's not, you're not sort of going into corner on the brakes. So when you overcook it, maybe just a fraction. It is an event at any speed, and to me that's what cars are about. Your numbers are great and top trumps and all that, but it's about how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And it's got to be that. It's because the roads are so busy nowadays and stuff. It's about how it makes you feel at any speed. It's got to have the performance, which clearly this does.
Yeah.
That's the correct way to arrive at Goodwood.
And just like that, the ride was over. And just to tantalise us even more, Dario parked up next to the Goodwood track, which we weren't allowed to drive on. Right, here's the plan, Ollie. I reckon you lock Dario in the toilets and I'll nick the keys. What do you think?
Sounds like a good plan.
Sounds like a good plan. It is quite frustrating actually being here at Goodwood Circuit and not being able to drive this around the track.
I know, and it's so appropriate us being here because 30 odd years ago, this is where Top Gear TV filmed the original McLaren F1 film with Tiff.
Of course, I watched that the other day on YouTube. It's definitely still
It's a
worth
good
a
one.
watch.
Stands
it's
the
old
test of
school,
time.
but it's all action, that thing. Now look, we obviously can't talk about, steering, brakes, throttle response, gear shift, anything like that. That's going to have to wait. But what did we learn today?
Well, it's an amazing thing to be in. I think there's a few takeaways. It's the view forward from the two side seats is incredible. There's so much going on in that. And then there's how small it is on the road. It's not a big car physically, and on the road it feels compact. And then, last one, I guess, 660 horsepower, more than enough.
Gordon Murray earlier today was saying, I got a bit of stick in the press because it wasn't enough power. Well, let's confirm right here
when
and now.
your car weighs a ton, it's enough.
Less than a ton, over 650 horsepower, it is plenty. I'll tell you what else we learned. That Dario Franchitti,
or he can drive a bit.
he can drive a
We'll
bit,
give him
can't he?
that.
Speaking of which, where did you leave your car?
Back at Gordon Murray.
Yeah, mine's back at the HQ. Dario, we're going to need a lift
gonna need a
back,
lift.
is that all right?
Oh,
Thumbs up. Right, saddle up.